morning, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. About 7:30 a.m. in London here. Just showed up to the field, about to get a training session and working on first touch, passing, turning with the ball. Midfielder kind of focus, but it can be definitely useful for any player. So yeah, follow the training session, and hope you guys enjoy it. Alright, so I started with a normal dynamic warm-up here, just taking the body through some of the movements that I'll be doing in the session and getting the heart rate up. Alright, so the first exercise I started with is just involving the wall and the ball, no cones. Here I started with 2 touches only, using only the right foot. Then I moved on to the left foot doing the same thing. Now, the whole session I didn't necessarily do sets and reps. Rather, I set a target of quality reps that I wanted to hit. So for all the exercises that you'll see, I'm trying to get 20 quality reps in a row without messing up a touch or pass. So if I mess up a touch or a pass, I start from 0, I keep going until I hit 20 reps in a row. So I know a lot of people structure their sessions in reps and sets, but I find that if you aren't getting quality reps in and you set, for example, a target of 4 sets, you can easily butcher the first 2 sets, 1 or 2 sets, and you only really get 1 or 2 high quality sets in total of that particular movement. So of course, doing it with a target amount of quality reps will probably take longer, but that's why you put the easier exercises at the beginning and the harder ones towards the end. This way, if you can't get enough quality reps on an easy exercise, you shouldn't even really be moving on to harder stuff in the session, because you need to develop the basics and refine your skills in that area. So I spend a lot of time sharpening the basics. As you know, most of the game is spent passing and receiving the ball. So this is probably one of the most important skills in a game, and one that can always get better. Now here I'm trying to be very specific about how I'm taking that touch and making sure that it goes across but not backwards and doesn't go too far. Also making sure I'm opening up those hips when I take my touch. Now, whenever fatigue sets in, I would grab a tennis ball and juggle for as long as I can in between my sets. This is kind of an active recovery and one that will continue to improve your first touch even while you're resting. So I set a target of 100 juggles here with the tennis ball. Then I get straight back into the next drill, which you can see on the screen is an outside of the foot first touch and pass with the same foot. The key in this drill is to actually face your hips slightly away from where you want to go. You do this so that you can expose the largest part of your boot, which is the part which you want to contact the ball with. This involves a decent amount of footwork as well. Throughout the session, the theme is using various surfaces of my foot and body to receive the ball and trying to get as comfortable as I can with all of them. Now, each surface requires a different technique, but this is something that you learn by doing rather than by seeing. So by practicing using each surface of the foot, like for example the one you can see on the screen right now, you unlock the ability to get out of certain situations because you're comfortable on the ball and you're comfortable solving problems in the game. You know that you have these techniques in your arsenal, and the sharper you can become with them, the more confident you will be doing them with pressure. So the next movements that I did here, my legs felt like a sack of bricks, but I tried my best to do them as quickly as possible despite the heavy legs. Now, I'm a firm believer that once you pass the beginning stage of learning the technique or the movement, you need to begin doing it quicker and quicker and trying to do it as fast as you can. This is because you need to be able to perform the technique without pressure at a fast and game realistic speed in order to even think about trying to do it with a live defender. So just like you wouldn't go attempt reading a book without knowing the alphabet, you shouldn't try a move or skill in the game without first training it in an isolated setting. So by isolated setting, I mean unopposed without a real defender. Now the next exercise I did here is working on receiving the ball with pressure on your back and taking a positive first touch away from that pressure, beating the defender with one touch. A player that I've seen do this really well and effectively is Thiago Alcantara. He's an unbelievable player and probably the best I've seen at reading pressure and identifying the spaces and then turning into them, and also identifying spaces to play the ball into. So a couple of things that I focused on here were checking my shoulder on every repetition that I did, and also trying to add spin to the ball on my first touch so that it leads me forward rather than backward or sideways. So this is what is referred to as a positive first touch. I also made sure to use different surfaces of my foot to turn with, starting out with the inside of the foot and then moving to the outside of the foot, then to the sole of the foot, and finally also mixing in a behind the foot chop. Another important thing to add is to try and limit the time between passing the ball and receiving it off the wall. You should do this so that you decrease the amount of time you have between the pass made, scanning the field, and taking your first touch. This is the most realistic way to train this style of turning with the ball if all you have is a wall and don't have any other equipment or another player to mimic pressure. Now, I also added in some body feints and changes of direction after my first touch because in a game the defender may be able to catch up to you, and so you need to quickly change direction again. If you're a number 10, 8, 6 or a striker, you need to get really good at this. So the last bit of this session before I moved into my juggling routine was just a simple drill to perfect receiving on the back foot and passing with the other foot. Now this is something that all positions require, including goalkeepers and center backs. The reason why I receive with one foot and play with the other is because it's much faster to do this than it is to receive and play with the same foot. You should aim to get 10 to 20 perfect reps and try to keep the ball within a foot distance of you. For the final part of the session, I moved into one of my juggling routines that I do when I don't have a brick wall or a hard surface to play off. The first exercise uses the inside of the foot only while alternating feet on each touch. This drill requires you not only to weigh your first touch, but also be very accurate in using the middle of the inside of the foot rather than your toe or your heel area, which will cause you to lose control. You also need a bit of flexibility in your hips. Then I used only the outside of my foot, aiming to get 10 to 20 in a row. So the drill you see on your screen is called the Pele 7, and basically you do 2 touches with your feet, then move straight into 2 touches with your thighs, then shoulders, and finally 1 touch with your head. Now here I'm doing a more advanced version where you go all the way up and follow the same sequence back down. So basically you do 2 feet, 2 thighs, 2 shoulders, 1 head, then move back down with 2 shoulders, 2 thighs, and 2 feet. So I was aiming to do as many reps in a row without dropping the ball. I managed to get 4 in a row, but I was feeling really fatigued at the end, so I may be able to get more. The next aerial ball control drill is one that I made up myself and call the ROCA 4s. So in this one you do 4 laces juggles, 4 inside of the foot with both, 4 outside of the foot, 4 thighs, 4 shoulders, 4 headers, and then 4 big touches into the air and bring it down without the ball touching the ground. So I wasn't able to do the big touches in the air this time around, but I'm going to go for it again next time. Finally, the last thing I did in this session was do some tennis ball juggling. This time, rather than setting a target, I just had fun with it and used different parts of my body to try and control the ball. I really encourage everyone to start juggling with a tennis ball, as it will really improve your ability to contact a regular ball in the right places. Just be patient and have fun with it. Alright guys, that's a wrap. End of the session. Today wasn't the best. Legs were feeling quite heavy. Wasn't feeling as sharp as I could be, but that's all right. You got to get those sessions in and you know, learn to push through those types of pain barriers, because obviously you're never going to be 100% in the game. So if you do like the video, you know what to do, and I'll see you guys next time.